A few months ago, a moment of serendipity offered me a remarkable gift. A whole bunch of circumstances aligned at just the right time of year to change my life. And the short version is that just when I was in exactly the right mental space and had a couple of free days, Google decided to notify me that my account was running out of storage. And now, I had been intending to make strides towards relying less on Google anyway, given current events. So, in preparation to port all of my photos over to hard storage, I spent my couple of free days going through and sorting them, all 18 years worth of them. Unsurprisingly, a lot of the photos, where's Matt? Were selfies. It was it was kind of like a flip book animation, watching my face change in subtle and not so subtle ways over the course of 2 decades. Watching myself gain facial expressions as I freed myself from an abusive situation. Watching the sunrise and sunset effects of falling in love, followed by heartbreak. Watching myself realize that I'm not a woman, and later seeing the transformations brought on by testosterone. And what happened in the middle of all of this was that I remembered vividly and in my body what it felt like to be 26 years old. What it felt like to experience the year 2016. And that memory changed present-day me. The decade in between then and now has been rough on my embodied spirit. Personally, I've been through illnesses and hardships. I've had to learn difficult lessons and be stronger than I ever thought that I could be. For the first time in my life, I've had to survive months and years where physical activity was fully impossible. I relapsed into anorexia, and then I got onto a path of recovery. My chosen profession has reportedly become more demanding than it's ever been before. It often feels like I've lost the ability to make or maintain friendships. And of course, on the wider scale, some serious shit has been happening. That decade has contained a pandemic, a national reactionary conservative backlash targeting people like me and those I love, and the rise of fascism in America. When writing this, I paused for several minutes trying to figure out how to describe this whole situation best, and shit was the gentlest word I could come up with. And so over time, I've slowly been bent into this sort of crushed and defensive involuntary body posture. Stomach clenched, face and chest closed off, tense and weak and sore. Even the best physical therapists and body workers have only been able to offer me momentary, partial relief from the impact of this decade on my hypermobile body. But then, that sudden random gift of remembering, of being visited by and embodying 26-year-old me, changed my body instantaneously. My eyes relaxed, my chest opened, and something complicated happened to my various abdominal muscles, which I don't think I understand well enough to explain. Deep, strong breaths flooded into my ribcage. And on a whim, I took a selfie. And in that photo, I recognized myself for the first time in years. A certain mental rigidity eased, and I began to find it easier to talk with other people. The most remarkable part about all of this is that so far, the change has stayed. I've had to choose it, to invite it, remind myself to stay with it. I actually think of it as keeping 26-year-old me here with now me. I subscribe heavily to the philosophy that we all carry every age we've ever been with us throughout our lives, like rings in a tree. I'm 35 and 30 and 26 and 19 and 11 and 4. And sometimes when I need to have a chat with myself about something hard, it's a conversation between these different ages. I once internalized a big wave of healing by singing a lullaby to my 7-year-old self. Another time I discovered that an inner dissonance I'd been feeling was because 22-year-old me utterly hated the fashion choices I'd been making. And so 22 and I started going to the thrift store together. This recent transformation, though, it's the first time that a younger self helped me in the present day rather than the other way around. Through the gift of being able to experience 26's posture, it's like parts of my spirit which had died off have been restored. And hear me out, I know it's not all that exciting to listen to someone go on about their latest personal revelation. But I wanted to share all of this as context because I do think there's something broadly applicable in this, which I haven't yet heard in discussions about trauma, resilience, and surviving the pain of today's current events. The body keeps the score is now extremely well known, and we talk a lot in spaces like these about how trauma lives in the body and changes us from the inside. What we don't talk about is the converse. All our joys live in our bodies too. Our moments of triumph, of pleasure, of resilience, of connection, of peace, and of strength also change us from the inside. These blessings are inscribed in our muscles and skin, and yes, beloved, in our fat cells too. Living our bodies creates us from the moment of consciousness until our last breath. And if pain is infused into our bones, then so is love. The way we live our experiences in life changes our bodies. And again, the flip side is also true. When we change our bodies, we also change who we are. The choices I've made about my physical self, both subtle and obvious, have been choices about how I choose to live my life. When I first realized I was trans, incidentally, a little bit before I was 26 years old, I went through a stage of social transition which was entirely unexpected. Months before I started asking for my correct pronouns, years before I gave myself a more masculine nickname, ages before I even considered testosterone, something big shifted. And that was that I allowed myself to adopt less feminine body language. I started taking up space. My legs took a wider stance. My shoulders took an angle of confidence, and my gaze became direct and level. And whether they knew it or not, people treated me differently. These subtle changes in the way we move can have a major impact on how others perceive us, as well as how we perceive ourselves. So going back to this decade from hell, did remembering how not to sit like a half-cooked shrimp make fascism go away? No. Has it helped me with my chronic pain? Not really, it's just that different joints hurt than the other ones. Has it made me feel less grief and fear about the world? No. But what it has done is freed me from some of the damage that my embodied spirit has accumulated throughout these years. It has allowed me to face reality with some of the strength and some of the centering I had before getting so ground down. It has allowed the patterns of a happier time to meet and combine with the wisdom of greater experience. How has your body been changed by living through these years? What reminds you of the sensations of peace and joy and connection? If it feels safe enough for you to do so in this moment, I want to invite you to join me for a little bit of exploration. Here, in this particular time and place, are you carrying pain or fear somewhere inside of you? Is your exhaustion hanging out with any particular part of you? Whatever you find, don't try to force the sensations out. Don't malign them. What I want to try together is just noticing how the inner balance might shift when we widen our focus to include where memories of goodness might also be living inside of us. We are all going to be called upon to be incredibly brave and resilient as the atrocities of the present day continue to unfold. Many of us will need to act more courageously than we ever imagined possible. The ways we practice living will form us, and the actions we take most often will be the easiest to perform when things are difficult. I've preached a lot this year about muscle memory and how we need to build up our capacities for acts of resistance. Tonight, I'm thinking about how it's just as necessary to practice acts of care for ourselves and one another, which help us resist the power of oppression to literally crush our inspirited bodies. How a habit of locating memories which free the breath and unclench the abdomen, softening the face and opening the shoulders, can give us a shield against the exhausting despondency which fascism seeks to spread. Together, let's hold on to the truth that whatever happens, no one can take away the love which has been written inside of your cells, or the delight which has twisted itself into your DNA. If we are made of our pain, we are also made of our peace. Find even one moment of freedom within yourself and let it shine. Together, we are going to embody our fierce, brilliant, unique, caring, silly, sexy, exuberant, insuppressible selves. And through this, we can carry the spirit of community with us through all the horrors of this time and into that unknown future ahead. If pain is infused into our bones, then so is love.